number two, why performance is bad, is that confident people see through it. Generally speaking, people, there's a study that gets quoted a lot. It says that like 93% of communication is nonverbal. Turns out that study's not accurate. But the principle remains is that most of our communication, most of the signals that we pick up from other people happen below what's actually being said. It comes from body language, comes from tonality, but it also comes from intention. People can see, like when we speak to people or when we look at people or watch their behavior, we're constantly surmising the likeliness of their intentions, what their motivations might be, what their emotional state is that's causing them to do this. So this is why when you see somebody who's like obviously bummed out, shoulders slumped, like he's like, no, I'm happy, I'm really happy. Like we know that he's full of shit. It's like if you apply that to dating situations, if you have a guy who's sitting there and making fun of a girl saying, no, I don't like you, I'm not into you, but she's the only girl that he's talking to and has been talking to her for 2 hours, she may not even notice it consciously, she can just sense there's something incongruent, there's something off about what he's doing. And basically, what performance is when your actions and behaviors don't align with your emotions and intentions. This is often referred to as congruence, where what you say and what you do reflects how you feel and what you believe from moment to moment. And people sense incongruence. I mean, everybody in here has met somebody or talked to somebody, and you just kind of, you feel like they're not being completely upfront or honest with you. And what we're going to discover later, the reason I say confident people, is because if you pursue women through performance, the only women you succeed with are women who are performing. Because any woman who doesn't perform or has no tolerance for performance or incongruence is not going to be attracted to you. She's going to be like, this guy's fake, he's sleazy, go away. But a girl who is performing herself and who also believes, I can't show who I am, I have to put on an appearance, I have to make myself seem a certain way, and then she meets a guy who's doing the same thing, in her mind it's like, oh, he's doing the same thing, he must like me, we should be together. So feelings of inadequacy attract feelings of inadequacy. Pursuing dating through performance also requires a lot of effort. You constantly have to remember, I'm in C1, I'm going to C2, I have to get this much Kino first, and oh, I can't go for the kiss because I didn't touch her around the waist, and she didn't comply with this, and oh crap, I forgot to tell my story about my dog, and so now she's not going to like me, and it just gets very exhausting. Or, if you're coming from the nice guy side of things, being on a date and feeling like you always have to agree with her and listen to her stories that you don't care about and not argue with her about some of the things you might disagree with and sit there and be like, no, we'll go where you want to go. No, really, no, you pick the place. We can go where you want to go. It gets exhausting. It's emotionally draining. It takes a lot of energy out of you. And honestly, it makes dating unenjoyable. It takes a lot of the joy and spontaneity out of it. And finally, it creates more anxiety. The funny thing is, a lot of us naturally have anxiety around sexual situations. Like, let me ask you this. What's the difference between making a new friend and making a girlfriend? I mean, you talk to people, it's you talking to people, it's you laughing about things, it's you sharing stories and sharing your life. Why is one so much more difficult than the other? Why does one frustrate you and drive you crazy and make you stay up at night, analyzing and overanalyzing? It's because one, there's a lot more anxiety attached to it. One is far more emotional, requires a lot more emotional investment. You know, you make a guy friend, you're just like, oh yeah, let's go have a beer, watch TV, whatever. But when you get into sexual and romantic situations, all of this stuff, like intimacy, romance, like emotions, attachment, it's like really uncomfortable shit. And a lot of us, it creates anxiety, it creates fear. We don't really know how to handle it, how to deal with it. And the thing is we often try to cover it up or compensate for it through performing. Trying to be the badass. Trying to be the cool guy. Fake it till you make it. Creating false confidence. But the funny thing is when you put up that front and try to fake it till you make it, you're just adding more things to be anxious about. So now you're not just anxious about sexually pursuing her, now you're also anxious about, what if she finds out that I don't actually make that much money? Or what if she finds out that this story I told about my ex-girlfriend's not completely true? Or what if she finds out that I don't actually vote Republican and I think she's a weirdo? Like, having to keep track of all of these things and all of these behaviors just leads to more anxiety, making you more anxious. And also, in terms of techniques, you know, let's say, just as an example, let's say that you're very nervous about going for the first kiss. So you get online, you look up a bunch of books, get on forums, watch a video, whatever, and you learn that, oh, if you want to kiss a girl, you have to do these 3 things first. So now what? Now you're anxious about these 3 things. Now you have 3 times as many things to be worried about. And maybe you do one okay, and then the second one you fuck up, and you're like, God, now I can't kiss her. It backfires. At a certain point, devising these shortcuts and these techniques backfires. But the biggest reason performance doesn't work, or feeling like you have to perform or put something out there, is that performance reinforces the belief that we're not good enough. Remember, you don't have to prove anything. And the second that you feel like you do, you're signaling to her through your intentions that you don't feel like you're good enough. And where does attraction come from? Attraction comes from how you feel about yourself. See how this all comes together? You feel like you're inadequate. You try to compensate for your anxieties. You start performing. To her, it comes off as low status behavior and unattractive. And worst of all, it makes you feel worse. The reason performance reinforces the belief that you're not good enough is because if you're good enough, you wouldn't have to perform. This is why, you know, I used to tell guys, I used to get like a lot of clients and a lot of emails from guys who would say, yeah, well, you know, if I just sleep with 30 women, then I'll be confident. If I sleep with 50 women, then I'll be confident. If I sleep with 100 women, then I'll be confident. And I was always like, no, you'll be exactly the same person. You would just have stuck in your penis inside of 50 women. There's no like magic confidence vagina juice that secretes on you. It doesn't happen. It doesn't work that way. And in fact, if you sleep with women and you perform to sleep with women, what you're telling yourself every time you do that is, I have to perform for women to like me. I have to perform for women to sleep with me. I'm not good enough as I am for women to like me. I'm not good enough as I am for women to sleep with me. I used to tell all these guys, who used to say stuff like that, I used to say, you wouldn't believe, but pretty much every guy I've met who slept with more than 100 women is far more miserable and has lower self-esteem than most of the average guys that I meet and hang out with. And the reason is because what pushes men to pursue that many women, spend that much time, that much of their energy for that many years, are feelings of inadequacy. They're trying to fill those feelings of inadequacy. The way I visualize this is there's basically an implication that she's here and you're here and you have to do something to make her think that you're there. And the thing is, I mean, this is where performance comes in. But the thing is, you know, the drive to sleep with that many women, the drive, oh, I need a hotter girl, or oh, I need to have a threesome, or oh, I need to date a stripper, or whatever. Like, whatever that motivation is, you're trying to close this gap. I call this the inferiority gap. It's this idea that she's here, you're here, and you've got to do something special or amazing to make up for that difference. This is pervasive in our culture. You know, everybody's heard the analogy, put her on a pedestal. That's what it is. Put her above you. Got to do something to earn the affection. Earn the vagina. That's how I sometimes refer to it. Stop trying to earn the vagina. And when you perform, you temporarily make up this gap, but you just reinforce that you're down here. So, where does the inferiority gap come from? Like, why do we start here? Why do we feel this way? Why do we feel like we're not good enough and we have to do something badass or amazing? There's two reasons. The first one is it's cultural. There's a cultural pressure, there's a cultural standard. I just wrote a post on my website. I called it How Disney Ruined Everybody's Sex Life. And basically the idea is that in Western culture, if you think about every story, every movie, every TV show, every book, there's a similar narrative that you see. Like, the love story always follows the same narrative. And it's basically this. You have kind of a humble guy, and then you've got a girl, and she's either in danger, or she's in distress, or something's wrong. And the guy has to blow up the world, or blow up the bad guys and save the world, and do something amazing to save her. And then he's rewarded with her love and affection. You see the same story arc over and over and over again. Normal guy has to do something amazing and impressive to get the girl to like him. Well, when we're kids, this kind of puts this expectation into us as men that, oh, if you want the girl, you have to do something amazing and cool to be with her. Over and over again, we're taught this. And then women are taught, oh, if a guy wants to be with me, he has to do something cool and amazing. And so what you end up with is you end up with a bunch of adult men who are like, God, I want to be with her, but I have to do something cool and amazing, and I don't know what to do. And then you end up with a bunch of women who are like, God, I wish a guy would do something cool and amazing to be with me. And everybody ends up frustrated. And it pushes men to perform or to overcompensate, and it actually pushes women to overcompensate as well. It inspires women it gives them incentive to create drama. Because a woman, in a woman's mind, she's saying, he has to win me over. He has to, the cultural narrative is that he has to earn my affection. So he hasn't actually done anything amazing. He's an accountant and he watches basketball. But if I create a bunch of fucking drama and make him live through it, then I'll feel like he earned it. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks for everybody involved. It sucks for us. It sucks for them. Because ultimately, what are women attracted to? Status. Everybody's looking to trade up. Guys are always looking for women who are on their level or higher. Women are always looking for a guy who are on their level or higher. But if culture is always telling us, men, you have to earn her vagina, basically. And women are constantly like, he needs to earn my vagina. Then they're constantly stuck with men who appear low status to them. This is why women are always going, there's no good men out there. And it's completely paradoxical, because the reason they feel like there are no good men out there is because there are no men, every single man is trying to win her over. No man has enough self-respect to say, fuck winning you over, I just like you. There are no men out there with actual true confidence. Men with false confidence, who are overcompensating. Does all that make sense? Do we all hate Disney now? It's funny, actually. When I discovered this, and there's ironically, the people who talk about this most, this problem and how it's fucking relationships up, are feminists. And there's a lot of good stuff written about it. And after I read that stuff, some movies I can't even watch anymore, just because I get so angry. I'm like, he would never do that. Like, stop it. Why are you being such a pussy? So yeah, it's a little painful. Once you start seeing it, you'll start seeing it everywhere, and it'll start bugging you. The other reason we have an inferiority gap is from past experience. Past experience. How many guys here have suffered like some horrible, awful breakup? Or like horrible, like say a whole streak of rejection previously in your life? When I was coaching, one thing I noticed, pretty much everybody I worked with, all my clients, they had one of two stories. They either had horrible breakup, like ex-wife just like screwed them over, cleaned them out, or they were like super nerdy in high school, or girls just would make fun of them and reject them all the time. And the thing is, these are like little traumas that add up. They reinforce this worldview and this belief. And it's hard. And the thing is the further back in life that it happens, the easier it is. Like, we forget about it. We don't remember. When I started, I mean, the whole reason I even got into this stuff, I was pretty naive when I was younger. Like, I was pretty nerdy in high school, and I got my first girlfriend when I was 18, and I was madly in love, and I was an idiot, but I was totally naive, and I totally bought into like the Disney fantasy, and I projected all this stuff onto her, and I thought we were soulmates, and we were gonna get married, and gonna live happily ever after, blah blah blah. And I got a really rude awakening. I mean, she would cheat on me, and then she left me, and I mean, in hindsight, she had all of her emotional problems and her emotional bullshit, but it created a really deep sense of inadequacy going forward, and it also created a lot of anger and like a need to prove myself. Like I need to fuck a lot of girls because I need to prove to myself that I'm lovable, that I'm worthy, and all that stuff came from my ex and from my family history. That need to overcompensate, that need to fill that hole, fill that gap. And of course, the irony is that none of that stuff actually fills that gap. It actually keeps it open, because I was performing, I was overcompensating, and I was dating manipulative and performing women as well.